Blessed be and welcome. We're so honored to have our sister Magdalena here, who's going to lead us through an amazing process and presentation entitled Demonized Women. Rise. I am Mayor Michelle, the founder and director of Sacred Female Rising Institute. And it's such a big honor to be here with you all for World Unity Week. And without any further ado, I turn you over to our sister Magdalena. Thank you.
Thank you, Mira, for introducing me. And thank you for everybody who's here and joining this call of the topic Demonized Women Rise. First of all, I want to thank World Unity Week for giving us this frame and the opportunity for gathering and for rising together, for knowledge transfer and sharing. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Magdalena. I'm based in Berlin, in Germany. And yeah, I'm introducing you to this topic, and I'm giving you a little overview. We will talk about some cultural backgrounds and psychological backgrounds of this topic, and diving into ancient times and exploring around some examples of demonized women. And then I'd like to find out with you together what they have to do with us. How is their story linked to ours, and how their story play out nowadays. At every time, please feel free to jump in, to interrupt, and to share your inspiration and your ideas. It can't be then enriching, and I would be grateful to get to know your ideas and yeah, what you have to share with us. So first of all, I'd like to show you the picture of the cover of this topic. Wait, Bildschirm freigeben. I cannot. I'm sorry. Okay, I will just, maybe you have it in front of you, the picture. It shows a woman which is embraced by a snake, and it looks quite sensual in my eyes. And I've chosen this picture because, yeah, I'm sure that it invokes in us, and maybe in all of us, a memory. Like, you know, maybe you can tell me when you're thinking or imagine a woman with a snake, what are you thinking about? Is it a picture which is familiar to you?
Magdalena,
if you want, you can jump.
May I put this on the screen?
Yes, please. Yeah, thank you. So what evokes this picture in you? Have you already seen some kind of picture like this?
It invokes the guilt of Eva, or the guilt of the apple eating first woman. It's guilt. What is planted there?
Yeah. Thank you. And somebody else?
Looks like a seductress, like she's seducing men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to think a bit of Britney Spears, where she did this dance with the it looked really like, yeah, fearless also, like
yeah. Yeah, fearless, because there are a lot of people who are afraid of snakes, for example. It's a really deep symbol, and yeah, it reminds me us of a lot of things. Yeah,
For me, I see.
Yes.
Oh,
no, sorry.
Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
Mira.
I see a Celtic woman, pre-Christian. You know, I see this free, undomesticated woman who's connected with nature. She doesn't have any fear.
Mm.
She's just in this rawness, this openness, and look at her face. She's so, yes, this is just life. You know, that's what I feel when I see her.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. For me too, it looks more like a Lilith than Eva. Like, yeah, a woman which embraces all this what a snake is like and might be a symbol for. Yeah. So from a cultural background, the snake or the serpent archetype has been worshipped in so many countries. Just think about the Aborigines in Australia, for example, the huge, great serpent, rainbow serpent, or the Midgard snake, like a Nordic mythology, yeah, holding the world together and holding back the chaos. And I wonder how it could be that the snake became a symbol of chaos. And of course, the woman, because the woman and the snake are associated. When we come to terms like monotheism and Bible Genesis stories. Yeah. So we just stepped out of a beautiful call with Mira Michelle, who introduced us in temple arts and the importance of ancient temple life. Yeah, there we were talking about the priestesses and and in ancient times there was the serpent priestess, like worshipping the snake and using the power of the snake, using its medicine and its knowledge. Yeah, and the snake was a symbol for rebirth, for medicine. And we all know it, the serpent priestess became the temple whore. So there was a constant degradation creeping in. Yeah. And I'd like to introduce you to another archetype, like Medusa. Do you know Medusa? Sure. And can you tell me how she's represented?
To me, Medusa was really misunderstood. I feel like the first time I learned about her, it was all about the bad things, and you can't look at her and all of the things that were negative. I can honestly say I had to do my own research to find out her truth.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, for me, actually, women figures like Medusa were the entry in all this women rising, all this path of womanhood. And so she's really dear to me. Yeah. And me too, I did researches. Of course, we know Medusa was represented with snakes on her head. Yeah. And when we are searching, for example, for her roots in more ancient times, then what we know, for example, in her name, the root, Sanskrit root of her name is Meda, and Meda means knowledge, wisdom, ritual. So it might have been a woman which has been consulted, for example, yeah, and who did rituals, who was consulted for her wisdom, for giving advices, for healing. So it's a huge step to this kind of demonization, because she has been demonized. And the snake was not anymore like a symbol for, yeah, growth and for healing, but for destruction, for chaos. Like men who gazed at her were transformed into stone. So it's a terrifying picture, isn't it? Yeah. And I'd like to ask you at this point if you know other stories, other demonized women, other examples. It might be in ancient times, it might be also in more modern times or in your own life, for example.
Yeah, I have big love to trees ever since. And once I also saw the snake force in the trees, this how the tree is growing in this energy field. And I understood this connection of these two old forces. And then I read about, I don't know exactly which region, I think it's in Israel, Lebanon there. There was the wife of God was called Asherah. And at one time, one of the male priests decided that Asherah needs to be burned in all houses. So she was worshipped with a wooden stab, you know, and everyone had this stab. And then was decided that she's a whore somehow, that she betrayed and she needs to be burned and deleted. And yeah, so she was gone. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. What you're saying gives me the picture of the Ouroboros, you know, the snake who's biting its own tail, who also, yeah, holds together the circle, humanity, the human family.
Asherah is also known with two snakes, I think, to remember. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sometimes the Ouroboros is pictured with two snakes or with one snake. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Another example. Me, I have an example from more modern times. We make a big jump, like women some decennies ago. And it was not normal, or it was not for society. It was not normal to divorce. And women who asked for divorce, for example, maybe they were not represented with snakes on her head, but they had problems. They got problems with society, with their families, and inside of them, even if the family is not, it's not making jokes or it's not pushing pressure, there's something very deep inside of us, like programmed in our cells. So for example, when I was asking you what represents this woman with the snake, there came guilt, shame, sin, original sin. So these are pictures who are really programmed into ourselves, even if we already are emancipated. In some kind, it might play out nowadays also. And me, I'd like to talk about my mother, for example, who grew up in a pastor family. So she was not supposed to ask for a divorce when she didn't want to be with my father anymore. And she made it, and I'm so proud of her that she stepped out of this old pattern or programming, or how can I say, she went on for her luck, for her heart. And it's so nice because those women who were stepping out of social norms, they opened also for us the way for following more our hearts. Yeah. Blessings to them and my gratitude. Can you tell me on this point, when, if you are a demonized woman, this is a quite provocative word, being a demonized woman. Are you a demonized woman? Any demonized women here? Or men?
Oh,
I also saw a
jump,
man. Yeah.
or man, yeah. I'm gonna jump in there, sister. Why not? There were definitely sometimes some points, knobs on the wheel in my life that I felt really pushed into a place of being so other and so out of other people's frame of reference that it was, going towards a path of being, ostracized, demonized, and just basically not seeable, invisible, but in a different way. And that's fascinating. For me, I'm very lucky because the family, the love for my family, they were a bit like, oh no, is she going to change all the rules now? But okay, we can't help it, we still love her. So that was helpful, to say the least. But yes, how I experience it sometimes also is interwoven with race, right? And interwoven with consciousness. So these are together but separate entities in a way. I mean, nothing separate, but however, when you're in a room and you do realize that the consciousness, perhaps, let's just as an example, didn't take that leap yet. And now you're sitting there holding. You need to be the holder of that, which didn't take the leap yet. And that's an isolating place to feel, right? Because if you do say anything, but the other ones are not ready to hear or perceive, boy, you're going to get kicked. You have a very good possibility of getting kicked in the pants. And on the other side, and I know this is like the general feeling of what women have really gone through deep demonization have felt, but if you don't say something, you run the risk of losing yourself and your self-esteem and your self-worth and your feeling of, I'm in the right place at the right time, I'm put here to ... So how would any of you sisters pick up on that and run with it? Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mira Michelle, for sharing and opening that up too. It's just to open up that, it's like, I don't want to admit that I'm part of that, or I don't want to feed that story maybe. But yeah, I mean, and it feels like what this conversation, Magdalena, that you're inviting us is really to get to root origin of the woman. And for me and in my family, I know that I'm somewhere in a transition of the women, my grandmother, my mother, watching them and witnessing their way kind of stuck in a pattern that they didn't get out of in this lifetime, that was sort of in the shadows of their husband or my grandfather. And I, so like looking at that representation of the woman that you had us, what came to me when I looked at that, and it could be something for me to look at for myself, and how to discern and the choice somewhere in
in the experiences that I may be having in my life, that I looked at her and I was like, wow, she's so at peace with being choked by the snake, is something that I witnessed as I was looking at her, was like this sort of like, that's not going to take my power, or no, I'm going to like allow those things and that may be trying to squeeze at me to take away what is my life force energy too, which is interesting. Of the serpent is like, to me, it makes me think of the source of life force energy coming up and always available. But yeah, there was something about that, like, and I feel that that is in some ways where I find myself, is somewhere in the middle of recognizing those patterns still within myself and seeing them playing out with women in my family, and then also witnessing how I am speaking up and speaking from my heart. And it's not easy to do that, and seeing that change within the choices in this lifetime in my life, and how that impacts the future generations of what will one day be what is like sort of, I'll be an ancestor, and may it be that I'm a part of that, where it isn't that story anymore about being even choked at all, or that we're not being that there isn't any of that to have to work through. So
Wow. Thank you so much, Joy. Thank you for sharing. What I heard was, it gave the picture or the notion of being aligned to oneself. This is what it gave to me, like being in one's true power. I also heard, I don't know if I understood right, like that you refuse to call yourself a demonized woman, or you refuse to be in this position of demonization. So what I was hearing is a huge sense and willingness of responsibility. Yeah, and what I heard from you, Mira, was also this holding the container. So when we are aligned with us, like when the energy inside of us is rising, then we also have to hold all this light. And sometimes I wonder if it's easier for us humans to to feel ashamed, or for being full of fear, following the rules, for not breaking or stepping out of norms, than to growing up and stand in our own light with our own point of views, our own, how can I say, as big we are in reality.
I have a story, if there's still time for sharing.
Yes.
I was in a shamanic training last weekend, and on Friday we women decided to go to swim in a river here in Germany. And I'm not a naked bathing person normally, but that was my chance because everybody was already naked in the water. So I was like, okay, I'm in today. I was training this naked bathing thing in Ibiza, so I was now supported by the female powers behind me and before my eyes. And we decided to make an empowering medicine photo of ourselves from behind, in nakedness in the waters. So this was like an initiation for us, to be pure and in present, and be visible, making ourselves visible in a non-sexual like in a pure way. Yeah, we are naturally sexual. We can't exclude that. Yeah. And then I shared this picture on my Instagram, where I have not so many followers, and it's a private account. And what I was not thinking about was that the mother of my partner, that she was there on Instagram. So she's coming from a Catholic family, and she has seen that picture. And what she was done, she sent my partner immediately a message and asked him that it's so hard for everybody, but Katerina, as I can see in the internet, must not have that heat currently, you know? And he was then 2 days with that energy. What was my partner doing there, that she's naked, visible in the internet, and I don't know, from nothing, you know? And this was this mother thorn in his heart, you know, working on him. So we were in process, kind of, or he was in process, because I didn't take that projection. It was a medicine photo, yeah. It was medicine for me, and I was totally in my body, totally in my voice, and I could work because it was a shamanic training for voice and sound, and it was really, really, really deep healing for me. But yeah, that was kind of a story, because our bodies, our representation of our sexual, physical embodiment of life force, of the Mother Earth herself, yeah, and this can't never ever be owned by anybody, not even religion, thoughts, and jealousy or whatever, insecurity, our fears. It can't. This is my body. Yeah. So I'm pure in that, and it's deep medicine for her also. Blessings.
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 Thank you for sharing. Me also, I was thinking about the shame regarding our bodies. It's not only that, it's not that other women or other men are talking badly about us. Sometimes it's just innate somewhere. And sometimes we even don't know where it comes from. So nobody was insulting us, maybe, but even though there's this kind of insecurity. So beautiful that you owned your freedom about your body. Thank you, Katarina. Thank you. Yeah. Myself, from my personal life, me too, I can say that one of the worst things what somebody said to me or could have said to me at that moment, it's years ago, but it hit me very, very hard. It was a good friend of mine living in Morocco. So he is a Muslim, and he went very religious. Before, he was not so driven to religion, and then he really decided to follow a path of or this interpretation of his religion. And when I came to Morocco for living there, he told me, I'm sorry, Magdalena, I cannot be friend anymore with you. And before, he always called me sister, and I called him brother. And he said, I cannot be friend with you anymore, and I cannot be your brother, because this means a big sin for me in my religion. And I cannot meet you on the square neither. I can meet you nowhere. I got so hurt by it. Yeah. Like being associated with a sin. This is what I understood in my pain. Of course, he didn't want to say that I'm a sin or degrade me, but yeah, I did it with myself. Yeah, this showed me a big pain inside of me, a big fear of being demonized and marginalized and being seductive, even not being judged as seductive, but maybe also the fear of doing something bad with my power. I must have believed something about this, that the sin, that it's a sin to meet me. Maybe I was even believing a little bit that I could do something wrong. Yeah. This is also a little bit what I said some minutes ago, that we have this fear, or me, I have this fear regarding my own light, but also regarding my own power. And how can we, thank you, how can we step out of thinking patterns and feeling patterns like this kind of pattern? Do you have any ideas?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you, Magdalena. Thank you for your sharing. Thank you for your honesty and your creative and empowering vulnerability. What came up for me, I probably don't want to explore this because it's been so explored, but two things came up for me. And one was that we're still healing. We're still healing the times of the witch persecutions, the suppression of female sexuality, the suppression of female spirituality, and naturalness, nature-like naturalness. We are still in the process of healing that giant wound. And Europeans and Americans alike, and worldwide. No woman must think that she is free from that pain body, because it would not be true. I'm sorry if I wake you up now with that, but it would not be true. There's a little bit of work to be done here, or a lot of work to be done there. Ultimately, it was a great suppression and obliteration of female power, the demonization, literally, of female power, empowerment, and natural ways of being, from sensual to sexual to spiritual. So yeah, I guess we're still all chewing on that one a bit.
I just wish to share one thing. We had one male on this training and 7 women, and we went for the healing between the male and the masculine and the female energies, and the male and the female. And we empowered him to be just the man and protect and hold space. And through his being just the male energy, he was able on the solstice fireplace to put his pants down and stand bare naked in front of 7 women to give his wooden piece in the fire of what he wishes to be transformed in all his integrity. So it's worth to really go for the female healing and make us visible in that. and the male, the men, they directly come with us and embrace that sensitivity and depth of integrity. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I share?
Yeah.
Listening to everyone, thank you so much for sharing. When I see this, when I see the picture that you showed first with the woman and the snake, there's a sensuality there to me, and there's beauty and there's pleasure, yeah. And to me, the female principle and the female body, which knows the cycles of nature, there's a wisdom and a knowledge in there of how nature works. And as we know, knowledge is power. So when the witches were persecuted, it was because they knew how nature works and how to work with it, and that empowered human beings. And there was a woman in the 1950s or 60s, I think, called Rachel Carson. She wrote a book called The Silent Spring, and she just brought forth the argument towards there was a lot of spraying and chemicals being used in agriculture at the time, and she just observed how different parts of the ecosystems started disintegrating and how that affected the whole chain. And she wrote this book, and instead of it just being received and being left as a body of work and of wisdom and of knowledge, because she argued the case very well, it was lifted up into the news and debunked, and she was demonized as somebody who didn't know what she was talking about. And it's just interesting when that the snake also represents knowledge, yeah. And that's the biggest sin is having the knowledge of who we are and the power of our own nature. So that's what's coming to me as I'm listening to everyone. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. What came to me also when listening to you, Veronica, is having the knowledge, like how to use the elements of the nature. I think you said, this is what I heard. It's also about using the alchemy inside of us. This means also embracing the dark and the light. Even this could be represented like an Ouroboros or a two snake symbol with two snakes, like Katarina saw it in the beginning of our call, like a dark side and a lightful side embracing each other, for integrity in the name of unity within ourselves. So all this, which means to be black and dark and shadow for us, belonging to our own judgment, just to I think we have to have a look on it and to watch on it, to look at it very softly, and to see our desires and also the dark desires, and also we can embrace yeah, how can I say, our greediness, our avidity, our lust, and even things which are, when we suppress things, we know it comes back in forms which are less soft. So if we could maybe put light on it and shine light on it and don't throw it into our shadows. And yeah, this could be real shadow work within ourselves for our inner alchemy. And also it could be used for the rising of humanity. So if we rise what we have hidden beneath our shame, our fear, it might be something we are afraid of. Maybe we women, maybe we are afraid of our sensuality and our big power. It's not only the men who are afraid of us and our power. Me, I'm afraid of my power, at least. I don't know if you feel the same. Yeah. If we manage it to give this a rise, yeah, what we demonized, then I think integrity is possible and union within ourselves. So what if we have a look, each one of us, on something which we consider, maybe if we find something, we have a look on something which we consider like shameful, might be a behavior of ours, it might be our thoughts, might be ideas or our way of living, it might be our body, something which we consider as not lightful or not yet worthy to be shown up and to shine a light upon. I'd like to invite you to have a look inwards. Is there something what you hide?
Thank you, Magdalena. Am I jumping here? What came up first in my mind was being outside of the norm. So either being not glowing enough, somewhere invisible, or being too shiny, being too much out there, being too much over the top, being too much in my power. And it also resonates with what you said earlier of which women were demonized. And when I thought about that question I feel like every woman who is in her power is being demonized because people are scared of her, any gender really, because they are maybe scared of their own power. They are scared of what that person might do. And I feel like I also have that anxiety inside of me, being outside of the norm, being not strong enough or too strong for other people. And that's so sad because I feel like if we all were in our power, if we were all guided by our medicine, if we were all empowered, this world could shine so brightly. We could change this world in a heartbeat to the better world, to a wonderland, so to say. But there's still so much anxiety inside of us, inside of most of us, I would say.
Thank you.
Hey.
Thanks. We are still in the solstice energy. So we are in the brightest days of the year. I think it's a really good moment to shine a light on us and on our shadows when they are ready, when there's something ready to be seen and to be, that we can make peace with it. Yeah.
May I share, Magdalena?
Yes.
So when you ask the question, if there's any type of behaviors that come up that make me feel like I may be misunderstood or demonized, it makes me think of the way that we move our bodies as women.
Mm.
And I have a class where we twerk. And it is all about really taking back the over-sexualized version of twerking that we see in our society and really putting the sacredness back into it and getting back to the origins of what that movement really is. And also the health benefits of actually shaking and moving our bodies. Energetically, what it does to the stagnancy of emotions in those parts of our bodies, as well as to the liberation of our souls when we can step into that and when we can be in a community of women stepping into it.
Mm.
It made me think of the woman who shared about getting naked and getting into the river with her sisters and how she was surrounded by women who were embracing it. So it encouraged her to embrace it herself. And I see that in the communities where we're dancing. And I think it's so powerful to realize the shame or the fear or the suppression that's been put upon us when we embrace our full power and our movement, the literal embodiment of it. And I just love that we're creating these communities, because I think that when we can do it through dance form, then we can go out into the world and we can embody that same confidence and power. And we can light the internal flame within us that doesn't necessarily need to have the community of women around us anymore. We have that fire lit within us, so we can be the flame for others. And I think that when I'm around a very liberated woman, it empowers me. But it took me a bit for me to feel empowerment instead of a suppression of myself, because I wasn't stepping into it. So I think that it's a powerful time to create these kind of conversations and to give everyone the opportunity to find their inner flame. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Fia. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yes, the snake is a symbol also for fire, the burning flame. And in Italy, there were like 400 years of a flame, sacred flame, never turned out. And what I needed to become a softer woman with my body and being visible as a woman, a true, full of grace and softness, and my hips and my womb, was to embrace this fire and remember myself when I was moving in my rooms or on the street, to not move like a man, like an elephant, but to taking back this insecurity, embrace it, and say, okay, now I move in grace, and now I go slow, and now I correct and straight up my spine. And the most difficult part for me was my breasts. So I'm still wearing a BH. And what is the name for it in English?
Bra.
A bra. Yeah. And now I'm starting to leave it just at home. And it was my first time to move in Hanover, in my hometown, without a bra, you know, and feeling good at it, you know. So yeah, it's really training. It's really like doing it with our bodies. Thank you for your work. Twerking, wow.
Mm. Thank you so much. I think also this is the steps we can do for filling us up with this fully embodied essence of love within our bodies, because we are walking this earth with our bodies. So why not shine our lights through our bodies? Yeah. Thank you so much. So we slowly come to an end of this beautiful call. I'm really grateful for all this sharing. Thank you for having been so honest and so heartful and vulnerable. And this is what we need for world unity, showing up with our true light, also with our demons. And remember that demon is just another word for angel. So if you're interested, you can leave me like a little message or write me a message. I'm running workshops treating those topics, walking on the serpent path, the serpent priestess path. I would be honored to have you in my workshops. I wish you a beautiful evening. Just stay tuned. There are other sisters presenting a lot of important things. Yeah, so thank you from my heart to yours.